Hey guys, it's Courtney from Willow's Bloom, and today I'm here to talk to you about the forecast from January 8th to the 14th. And we are going to be looking at this for all signs, so make sure you definitely check this out for at least your rising and your sun sign. Your moon sign can also be relevant to more internal emotional experiences as well. Okay, so on January 8th, we are having Mercury retrograde in Capricorn making a trine to Uranus. So Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, as I mentioned in our last video, has a lot to do with understanding and reorganizing our plans. So what's our strategy? How are we going to do things a little bit different? How is this going to make more sense in the long term? And this trine with Uranus is going to be almost like this experimental little phase where we have the opportunity to see new ideas, solutions, things that we can do differently in order to create a plan that actually makes a lot more sense for us. So ask yourself where Capricorn is. What am I redoing here? An example for me is I have Capricorn in my fourth house, and I recently I have my moon here, and I also work from home mostly, but I also have a little office space that I use. And recently I was like, I think I actually want to change office spaces and try to figure out what the best thing to do is. And so this is happening during Mercury retrograde. I am basically changing how I work from home, and I am renting out another little home and a little space in there. So you can kind of see how there are things that we've already maybe tried or attempted in some way that we're going to go back and kind of flip the script a little bit on it. And I think it also just made sense with this full moon that happened on the 6th in Cancer for me. Regardless, on the 9th, we're having Venus in Aquarius making a trine to Mars, which is still retrograde in Gemini at that point in time. So I think this is going to be a really creative day, a really passionate day. This can be really spicy and enjoyable for relationships. If there's something that you're working on, it can get you really stoked on whatever that is. So definitely a good time to make some time for yourself to work on that, or just have some time for your relationship. Let's just say that. Be intimate. On the 12th, this is our big day. So on the 12th, we have the sun in Capricorn making a sextile to Neptune. So really beautiful time for paying extra attention to your dreams. So maybe on this day or this night, you can do a dream journal in the morning and kind of reflect on what came up, because you might get more information about your journey, about your path on that particular day. You might have also really beautiful insight and ideas come through the dreams or through your intuition, or very creative ideas come through. So it's basically where the veil tends to be open and more stuff can kind of drop through our crown chakra. That is information that we wouldn't have necessarily thought from our logical mind. On that same day, the big thing that's happening is we have Mars moving direct. So Mars has been moving retrograde for so long now in the sign of Gemini, and I am grateful, so grateful that it's moving direct, because I'm a Gemini, and a lot of people I know have been impacted by this, because if you have a planet in Gemini in your chart, many of you have been maybe toying with your sense of ambition and drive, asking questions about, where am I putting my energy, but also with kind of getting to know your anger and understanding when that's useful, when it's not useful, how you want to relate to it. And that's been a beautiful journey, but also I'm so ready for it to be done. And so Mars is going to be moving direct, and that's happening on the 12th at 8 degrees of Gemini. So if you have any planets plus or minus a few degrees around 8 degrees, either of Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, or Virgo, you will have the greatest transformation of this particular time, and maybe a little bit of like pressure, because when a planet is changing directions, it tends to slow down, which means that it's going to be sitting in that same spot for a long time and just asking you, have you learned this lesson yet? Have you learned this lesson yet? And if you haven't, you're going to have this pressure of, let's make a change. This is a critical mass point. We have to do something. We have to have a revelation and experience. And if you have a planet around 8 degrees of, again, Gemini, Sag, Pisces, or Virgo, these are going to be conjunct, square, or opposing this planetary movement, or stationary, I should say, where Mars is just sitting there. So those aspects will definitely trigger something in your life, in terms of finally making that last change if you haven't already. So Mars has been at 8 degrees from January 1st of this year, and it will be finally moving on to 9 degrees of Gemini on the 24th. So that is almost an entire month where it's just sitting at 8 degrees. So now you can see why it's so important to know if you have planets around there, because you're going to feel this energy. You're going to feel it just sitting and not moving. And if you're like, why is this happening? I've been so frustrated, or all these things have been kind of going wrong, or I've been needing to make this change and I just don't know. There is the universe giving you like a lot more time to make that decision, to understand what you need to do, to understand what you want. And what's funny is 8 degrees of Gemini has to do with an industrial strike or a riot. So it's a lot about taking back our dignity. And Mars is a planet that defends us as an individual, that makes us feel like we are worthy of being defended. It gives us courage. It gives us confidence. And so if we have been taken advantage of in some way, if you've been tolerating some BS for far too long in some area of your life, whichever planet is aspected, you're finally going to take a stand and be like, enough is enough. And that's definitely going to happen sometime between now and the 24th. So big energy. On the 14th, we have Venus in Aquarius squaring Uranus and Taurus. Not my favorite energy, I'm not going to lie. Venus tends to be this really harmonious relationship planet, money planet. And so when it's in a difficult aspect, or having a fight, I should say, with a planet that's associated with radical change and surprises and just kind of erratic energy, we can know that there's going to be a little bit of volatility in our love and relationships. So, or money. And so there's going to be some area of our life where there might be something really unexpected that can happen. If Venus, for example, is important in your chart in some way, let's say it's your career ruler, your midheaven ruler, you might notice that you have some sudden career change or some sudden outburst from a colleague. You can notice that you have to spend money on an unexpected expense. Sometimes it could be positive and you get money unexpectedly as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be negative, but just the volatile nature of Uranus and the fact that it's a square can bring about some undesirable circumstances. So just kind of be on the lookout for that. Definitely not a day to plan your date. Definitely not that would be more the 9th of this week. So expect swift changes, but those swift changes will help you eventually settle into a state of harmony. So maybe some things become disruptive, and then ultimately it can inform and help Venus discover what needs to change or what has to happen in order for balance to be restored. We could also expect to have sudden creative projects or people come into our lives. Venus is very much relationship oriented, so new people can come in. So things coming out of the blue, things that you didn't expect, and they can be just unpredictable in nature. So maybe a project takes a quick turn, or maybe an artistic venture or a person just acts in a way that you never expected. So that's kind of the energy of this day in particular. So that's the general overview for the week. Now let's go ahead and get into what this looks like for all of the signs, and definitely make sure to listen for your rising and your sun sign, and if you want to, your moon sign. All right, up first we have Aries Rising. So for you guys, on the 8th, we have Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in your 10th house, making a trine to Uranus in your 1st. I love this because I think many of us will be going back and doing something different in our career sector. And because we're kind of figuring out what that should look like, what is our sense of leadership and impact, what is our long-term plan, what is our goal, this trine with Uranus in the 1st on the 8th is going to help deliver a creative message or a creative idea on how to change things up. And this is not necessarily something set in stone, but it could be almost like an experimental plan for how to adjust your career circumstances or your long-term plans and goals. So you might see that there are some little shifts that happen on that day, especially if it hits a planet for you. On the 9th, we have Venus in Aquarius in your 11th, making a trine to Mars retrograde in Gemini in your 3rd house. So we're going to talk about Mars retrograde because it is going direct on the 12th. And this is like the biggest thing, but I'm going to get to that in just a second. So stay tuned. It's really exciting to think about. So Venus in the 11th, trine Mars retrograde in the 3rd, I think is going to be really great for relationships. Mars has been retrograde for a while. I'm not so concerned about that. It's really about having these exciting conversations, maybe a good time to meet up with your friends, have a good social day. It just feels like it's really bubbling with energy. So really great time to get out there and do something interesting out in your neighborhood, out in your community with your friends. On the 12th, this is a day I'm excited about for you guys. We have the sun in Capricorn in your 10th, making a sextile to Neptune in the 12th. This is really great for understanding maybe what you want to do next in your career, but also kind of taking a pause in your career. So in that pause, you'll find this restoration can actually uplift you and give you more clarity about what's ahead for you or what your soul really is yearning for. But even more importantly, the clarity can come from Mars finally turning direct in the sign of Gemini. So it's been retrograde here for a while. And so I think that you guys are finally going to feel like you're getting more of this momentum with this Ace of Wands and the Horse card. It's like finally things can move forward, things can pick up. However, even though Mars is moving direct, which is great news for you guys, seeing as how Mars is your planetary ruler, it's still kind of stationary. It's still just hanging out and moving very, very, very slowly. And it's basically from the 1st to the 24th at 8 degrees of Gemini, just sitting there. And so there may be ways in which you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like things are moving, but they're not actually moving, or they're not moving that quickly, or you might feel a little bit pent up in some ways. So there is progress happening, but it's almost like you're still kind of stalling out and moving so slowly at the same time. So once Mars picks up speed and starts to move to 9 degrees on the 24th and further, that's when I think you guys are really going to start to see things gain traction and have more effect in your life. And then lastly, on the 14th, we have Venus in Aquarius in the 11th, making a square to Uranus in your 2nd house. Venus square Uranus can be a little bit unpleasant. And for you, this might come through a little bit of volatility in friendships. Sometimes it could also affect financial things. So maybe you go out with your friends and you spend too much money, or maybe there's some weird unexpected expense that comes up that affects some long-term plans or goals that you have, or affects some plans that you have with your friends. There can be something related to that that's like, oh, like that's not exactly what I wanted it to be. Sometimes it can be good. You can actually get benefactors giving you more money or more influential relationships happening. So it doesn't have to just be bad, but oftentimes the volatility can be something unpleasant. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Aries. I did pull a few cards besides what I just mentioned, which is teacher, journey, and grace. So I kind of feel like these three are together, and it has a lot to do with this Mars finally moving direct for you. So I feel like in many ways with teacher, journey, and grace, it's been teaching you Mars finally moving retrograde and then slowing down and then finally moving direct, but still kind of slow. I feel like ultimately it's teaching you the power of having grace with yourself along the journey, respecting the fact that it is a journey, and not maybe rushing, not maybe feeling like you have to be there, be at the end, be the ultimate person already, because Mars is your planetary ruler and it's just asking you to take it one step at a time and have grace with yourself in that process. So if you enjoyed this, please let me know by liking, commenting down below, and I hope you have a great one. Bye. All right. Up next, we have Taurus Rising or Taurus Sun. So it's interesting because I pulled some cards and I'm already getting so many messages around the cards, but I want to talk about the forecast first and we'll get to the cards next. So on the 8th, we are having Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in your 9th house, trining Uranus in your 1st. So for many of you guys, there have been some long-term plans, some maybe belief systems, all those things that I've already talked about last week that we are kind of under construction with. We are thinking about things differently. We are having new insights come in. And this is especially true on this day with that trine to Uranus in the 1st house. And it's something that once we get the information come through to approach how we're doing something differently, it's going to lead to a lot more personal freedom in your life. It might free up some time. It might give you more space, more energy. It might finally remove something in your life that's been really weighing you down. And that's something that I see with the Six of Swords and the Ten of Wands. I feel like you guys, I don't know, I just feel like you guys have had a lot on your shoulders, a lot of responsibility. And whatever information could come through or ideas could come through for you on the 8th can give you insight into the exact steps that you need to take to adjust your plan, to remove that sense of burden and transition into an easier time. There might be some things though that are a little bit like unfinished business, things that you have to wrap up. Maybe you have to relinquish some control or some idea of what it should have been like or should be like. And then once you do that, I feel like you're going to be golden and you'll really start to see things shift on the 14th, which we'll get to in a second. Venus in Aquarius on the 9th is in your 10th house, making a trine to Mars retrograde in Gemini in the 2nd. So just the following day after you have those insights about maybe I can do this to like have more personal freedom, the next day, I think you're going to have a very strong either support system or feel very passionate. There's something coming through where you're like, yes, this is how I can make this happen in my career. This is how I can maybe even make more money as a result of this situation, as a result of this alliance, as a result of this support or this change. It really feels like you're having just more energy kind of jolted into your career financial sector. And I do think it's linked to this previous event. It doesn't have to be, but I do think that they are linked. So maybe you're freed up to focus more on your creative genius and make more money by doing something a little bit differently. And then on the 12th, we have the sun in Capricorn in your 9th, sextiling Neptune in the 11th. This is really, really beautiful for receiving visions. So, and this is going to also be useful to talk to people that are in your community that can help bring about what that vision could be or that clarity could be for your future, for your long term. You might find that it also feels like your community is more healing for you at this time. You're also having Mars move direct on this day in your 2nd house. So financial matters might start to sort themselves out a little bit easier. Mars is still moving slowly, so it might not happen immediately, but it's a sign of great success and forward movement in your financial matters and things, again, being sorted out. And this is going to be more the long-term thing that's happening. So forward momentum. After the 24th, we're going to start picking up momentum. And from the 24th of January until March, Mars is still moving through your 2nd house of finances. You'll really start to see a lot of change and progress and ambition and action and drive in your sense of security. So in your financial sector. So great time to kind of focus on how you manage money, where you make money, and all those things that are needing to be adjusted at the beginning of this week. Those things are going to start picking up over the next few months. And then lastly, the important day for you is on the 14th, we'll have Venus in the 10th house. Your chart ruler, Venus, is very important to you guys, making a square to Uranus in your 1st. So this is where I feel like there's a little bit of change required of you. And this might actually make you have to trust more in the process. Maybe you guys are receiving some information. Maybe you guys are doing something differently, and it's like it feels like a jolt to the system, or it feels uncertain. It feels like, oh, I have to relinquish control of that. I'm not sure. So there's a little bit of this kind of, I feel like there's resistance. And I say that because I pulled the trust card and because I'm seeing also this opposition happening with the whale and the mouse card. There's part of you that's really wise, who knows that you need to move towards a more sustainable future where you're not overburdened. But then another part of you is really worried with this mouse card about the details, about relinquishing control. And that might not be specifically that. It might not specifically be about relinquishing control, but there's something that is still within you that's like worried about letting go of the details, where it's like, no, but I want to know everything that's going on. And the whale doesn't know everything the whale knows what it needs to know. And the whale sees a bigger picture. The whale has a space and the time to get in touch with its intuition, its inner wisdom. And it only does that by not worrying about all the little details, not getting caught up in all the little finite things. So on the 14th, when Venus squares Uranus, I definitely feel like there's something here where you guys are being asked and kind of pushed to relinquish the obsession around the details, the control over a situation, the way that things are, and move towards a more big picture way of looking at things that will present to you more time and space that you can touch into your inner wisdom. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Taurus. Big week for you guys. I'm very, very excited. If you enjoyed this, please let me know by liking, commenting down below, and I hope you have a great one. Bye. All right, my fellow Geminis. So this is your reading of the week of the 8th to the 14th. And we are starting off this week with a little bit more impact on you because as a Mercury-ruled sign, you're going to be influenced by Mercury's trajectory a little bit more than others. So on the 8th, we have Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in your 8th house, making a trine to Uranus in your 12th. So wherever Mercury retrograde is happening is a lot about like checking in on our plans, our sense of priorities, what's super important to us, our work ethic, all of those things. But it's interesting because it's in the 8th house, which has a lot more to do with, I mean, it could have to do with other people's money and business. That is very much associated with like insurance and taxes or shared finances, things of that nature. Debt, it could definitely bring a focus onto debt. But when it's retrograde, it's like, how can I redo things? How can I do something differently that I've already started? And that wasn't really working very well. And this is a very key point for you. So if there are certain things around debt, money, other people's money, shared resources that you might need to adjust, great time to do so, especially on the 8th, because I do feel like with this trine with Uranus in your 12th, there might be some missing information or some really important clue that can come in for you to help you guys know what changes actually should be made or how to go about those changes. If it's not that, for many of us, it's about facing our own inner defenses. The part of us that's brought up walls because it's uncertain about our own safety. And so on this day, I feel like many of us, well, with Mercury retrograde here, I feel like many of us might be asking ourselves how those defenses could be actually keeping us from our long-term plans and goals and our lasting success. And so on the 8th, we might have a little bit of this feeling of a breakthrough or like ease of motion, because a trine with Uranus in the 12th will help alleviate whatever some of those internal blockages are that are trying to keep us safe. So that's the more psychological, and then there's the more practical, which I already mentioned. On the 9th, we have Venus in Aquarius in your 9th, making a trine to Mars retrograde in your 1st. Beautiful time to have a fortified sense of confidence. So I feel like if you did kind of combat any of your fears, if you had an illumination or a clarity or a breakthrough around those, the next day you're going to be enjoying the fruits of that labor. You're going to be feeling more in your essence, more proud, more hopeful about the future. You're able to start see things unfolding in a different way. And so you're going to be fortified by this effort. On the 12th, we have the sun in the 8th house, making a sextile to Neptune in the 10th. So again, this month, whenever you have the sun in Capricorn in the 8th, it is a lot about that internal work. And the other things that I mentioned, debt, shared finances, the occult as well. So if you've been especially interested in that, great time to focus on that, especially on this day. But it's making a sextile to Neptune in the 10th. So there is a connection here with feeling inspired and creative in your career with the amount of clarity and effort that you're putting into your shadow work. So it's like, okay, if there's something that I want in my life and I'm putting this effort into understanding why I don't have it or what's blocking me, I start to uncover those things and become more and more inspired, more creatively inspired, which I feel like this week is all about that message. And I pulled the oyster card, so it makes a lot of sense. It's like, how are we transmuting difficult feelings into something positive? And in this case, with the oyster, turning it into a pearl. So there's something about these experiences that you're not only confronting, but you're also transforming them into something inspiring in your career, which I think you're really going to see on the 12th. And on this day as well, we're having Mars finally moving direct in your sign. So it's been moving retrograde, it's been hanging out in your sign for so long, teaching you this larger message around resilience, around your will and determination, what you really want out of life. Does this truly align with who you are as a soul and as a person? And all this work, this is like the last little burst of work that you're going to do before you can hit the ground running with more clarity. That doesn't mean everything's going to be clear all the time, but it means that you really finally feel like you have this solid awareness around what your journey is. And some of you may want to be a teacher. Some of you may have found important teachers during this time. Regardless, I think that there's important people, either you are going to be that important person or you're going to receive it from an important person, to have clarity around what your journey is meant to be like. And I really feel like you guys are going to commit wholeheartedly to what it is that you want to create with the Seven of Pentacles and the Emperor. It's about getting all of your energy back online, about getting all of your ambition focused in a specific area to create the structures and discipline and consistency that you need to create that thing. And I really feel like you guys are just totally and completely dedicated. I pull these cards and the word commitment came out. There is a sense of commitment here. And when Mars moves direct after its long journey in your sign, after its long retrograde, it's like, this is what I'm committing to. This is what I want. 110% for my life, for my career, for my relationships. It's like you can see it with this clarity of vision. And I think it's going to also require some changes, because on the next day, or the 14th, sorry, we have Venus in your 9th house in Aquarius making a square to Uranus in the 12th. There may be some things that you have to let go of or change in order to have all hands on deck for this commitment. And it might be related to your value systems, what you believe. It might be related to relationships. It might be related to money, worthiness. Those particular things could really all come through. Or it could be about learning something new, or about teaching something in a different way, learning from a different type of person. There's lots of ways in which this could come about, but it's requiring some little change that might feel a little bit uncomfortable, like outside of your comfort zone, pushing yourself a little bit, but it's going to help you further align to that journey and commit with more certainty. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Gemini. I hope that resonates. If it does, please let me know by liking, commenting down below, and I hope you have a great one. Bye. All right, up next we have Cancer, Rising, and Sun. So for you guys, we're starting off this week with Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in your 7th house of relationships. It's making a trine to Uranus in your 11th. So wherever we've had Mercury go retrograde, we are asking ourselves how we can approach things differently, especially things that we've already committed to, things that we've already tried to do, which for you is in relationships. So what have you tried in your relationships that hasn't been working? What have you been doing with your partner, or who have you been attracting? How have you been treating people, talking to people that hasn't been working? And Mercury retrograde is asking you to reflect, create a new plan, something that will last you long term, something that will be more foundational, stronger, more impactful in your life. And on the 8th, when it makes a trine to Uranus in your 11th, it's going to give you some insight and breakthrough, especially around the types of people that you want in your life. What is the kind of community? How do I want to relate to this new kind of community? And it might give you a little bit of this breakthrough of kind of seeing what you want more of in your life if you've been having a lot of the things that you don't want in your relationships. So I'm definitely looking forward to that for you guys. Then on the 9th, we have Venus in Aquarius in your 8th, making a trine to Mars and Gemini in your 12th. This is going to help you in many ways start to turn away from some of these difficult feelings and move a little bit more towards confidence. I think some of you guys may have had sleepless nights with this 9 of Swords. You may have had very conflicting emotions, uncertainties, fears that have come up in relationships, feeling like maybe you don't belong, you're not certain. Your relationships are kind of going through that Phoenix rising from the ashes experience. And in order to do that, you have to get a little burned, you have to get a little messed up, you have to feel a little bit wonky. And I think that this experience for you on the 9th is helping you revitalize yourself in many ways and come back from those feelings of being burnt, those feelings of anxiety, uncertainty, sleepless nights, and step more into the King of Wands of realizing that I can shed this fear, I can shed these negative feelings, and step more into confidence, worthiness, especially within relationships. So if you've been having any of that come up in your dynamics with others, this is your time to kind of drop that baggage and shine your light in a more confident way. On the 12th, we have the sun in the 7th house, making a sextile to Neptune. So this is really beautiful because it's going to give you that healing energy within your relationships. The sun being in your 7th is putting an extra emphasis and focus on that area of your life. So who do you surround yourself with? All the things that I've already talked about. The sun will bring clarity and Neptune will bring the healing. So it's a time of relief. It's a time of feeling like things are being, like this says radiance, but you can see the sun is rising in the back. So it's like, okay, the sun is going to rise. I'm seeing the new dawn. I'm seeing the new day. I'm seeing my own radiance, my own worthiness. And I'm feeling like things are starting to look up. On the same day, we have Mars moving direct in your 12th house. I think that this is ultimately going to give you more energy to combat the things that have been weighing you down. With this elephant card, the things that have been struggles in your life, the 12th house can have a lot to do with how we tend to self-sabotage by saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, not doing something. That's also huge. And especially when Mars is moving retrograde in your 12th house, there might be a lot of things that you just didn't take action on that you needed to be taking action on. And so now that it's moving direct in your 12th, it's going to give you a little bit more energy so that you can actually start maybe doing some internal work. And then eventually when Mars finally moves out of your 12th in March, it will give you the opportunity to be truly powerful and take more action externally. So right now I feel like your elephant, which is a remover of obstacles, is helping you remove obstacles within yourself, within your life, within your relationships. And then in sometime in March, when Mars finally moves out, it will then remove obstacles outside of you. And those are both really necessary. You got to do both in order to make your dreams happen. So you are doing very important groundwork right now. And I feel like it'll feel a lot less like you're spinning your wheels if you felt that recently. If you've been feeling less inspired in your career or in your passions, if you have ideas that are really all like half-fledged, is that a word? Half pursued, not really complete. This is your chance to get a lot more inspiration to move towards actually completing those. And you might not do it right now, but in March you will. And then on the 14th, we have Venus in Aquarius in your 8th, making a square to Uranus in your 11th house. So this can be a little bit uncomfortable. This is where maybe some of your past wounding can kind of meet your new community. Like, let's say you've had some issues with friends or with a partner. There is this weird thing where that issue could have left an imprint on you, and then now there's something new happening in your friend group or in your relationship with people, and it's somehow bringing that up. And it's with the square, it's time to release that. It's time to make a change. It's time to have a creative approach to the way that you've operated. And so instead of operating from a place of pain like maybe you would have before, now it's time to operate from a place of confidence with this elephant and this King of Wands. You're removing these inner obstacles and approaching people with more authenticity, approaching people with more strength within yourself, and not going into the lower vibration of volatility that Venus square Uranus sometimes can represent. But if you do have a little monkey wrench thrown into your relationships on the 14th, know that it's normal, and it might be somehow related to internal things happening within you. So you don't have to necessarily worry too much about that. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. If it resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And I hope you guys have a great one. Bye. All right, Leo and Leo Rising. I just got a burst of energy. I pulled out the most amazing cards for you guys, and I was so energized. I had to take a brisk, freezing walk outside, and it felt so good. So I feel like some of your energy for this week is definitely going to re-energize you and make you feel more excited about what's to come. And I'm excited to share these cards with you and what I see here in the astrology for you. So on January 8th, we have Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in the 6th house, trining Uranus in your 10th. As I've already mentioned last week, Uranus retrograde in Capricorn, especially in the 6th house, is a lot about our planning in relation to responsibilities, careers, our relationship with our coworkers. It's about looking at those aspects of our lives and realizing what isn't working, redoing, adjusting things, going back to the drawing board in these areas related to work. And on the 8th, when it makes a trine to Uranus in the 10th, I feel like you guys are going to have this beautiful breakthrough that is going to help you get out of this really kind of reactionary mindset. I really feel like many of you guys have been hasty and impulsive because I pulled this moth card, which has to do with that. And if you think about a moth, they're just immediately drawn to the flame. They're going to the immediate source of energy, to the source of light to fill up its cup, when in reality, it's going to die that way. So it's almost like you have been maybe drawn to certain avenues or outlets or experiences in your career that were going to lead to burnout, were not sustainable. Maybe there were certain relationships within the career that weren't going to get you to where you need to go. You needed to revisit and think about the way that you organize your responsibilities and your life path in some ways, or your job in some ways. There was something that you needed to have a higher vision. And I feel like on the 8th is when, with this trine with Uranus, you will have access to this higher vision with the trine to Uranus in the 10th. Uranus is all about giving us a glimpse of a different timeline, a glimpse of radical change in our lives, what it could look like if we made certain changes. And that is coming in for you on the 8th. And then just following that, we have Venus in your 7th house on the 9th, making a trine to Mars retrograde in your 11th. So if there have been these weird relationship things going on, if you've been having issues within the workplace, or if you've been feeling unsettled in a certain friend group, I really feel like the 9th can energize this area of your life in a positive way. It can lead to certain actions that you might need to take, certain ways of being that will actually further create harmony or further create closeness. And so if there has been any kind of breakdowns, I really see you guys maybe taking the steps on that day, or feeling inspired to say the right thing that will bring about that sense of harmony, but also creativity, passion, feeling more inspired around your relationships, maybe a little bit more sexual as well. On January 12th, we have the sun in your 6th house making a sextile to Neptune in the 8th. So I feel like this is going to give you guys some feeling of regenerating your energy. And I got this picture of like a snake coiling. So that's kind of how I see the 8th house anyway. There tends to be this feeling of like a Kundalini awakening happening there. Regardless, Neptune in the 8th has a very revitalizing effect. And so I feel like you guys are going to feel that come through in your career, almost like a cleanse. Like, okay, I feel better. I feel more at peace. I'm less worried. I was so worried before. I was so concerned before. And it's like soothing those worries, soothing those concerns. And on this day, Mars is also moving direct in Gemini in your 11th house. And this is all about taking action towards your future plans and goals, and making sure that you have a very clear plan, because Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is asking you to get clear on what that is. And also, again, how to organize responsibilities. So maybe one person's in charge of this and they need to be in charge of that. Maybe you need to create processes around your operating procedures. Maybe you need to create systems. Like, there's something that wasn't working. And this is just, my examples. There's so many different ways this can come about. It could be interrelational within the business. That could be not working as well. But there's something that wasn't working. And I feel like when Mars finally goes direct in the 11th house, you're going to start to take action on a long-term vision. So it's important to have all those pieces in place so that when you take action, you know what the fuck you're taking action on, and you're not having rudimentary mistakes happen that are ultimately going to disrupt the overall system. So taking action towards creating a flawless system, as well as networking, getting your voice out there, creating connections, putting more energy towards your relationships, towards your career and your goals, but also like your sense of community. So that is where I feel like you guys are meant to shine on the 12th when Mars finally goes direct. It is stationary. It is moving very slowly. So it's not like it's going to be this crazy energy right away, But I feel like you guys are really going to see the blessings that will come from these shifts in the astrology for you. And I did pull the blessing card, which is confirmation that things are really going to work out for you guys. And you're moving from this hasty moth energy. And I think when Mars was retrograde in your 11th, there was some like quick fixes that you were trying to create. Like there are some impulsive decisions, these things that you thought were going to get you to where you wanted to go, but it's not about quick fixes. It's about doing what's best long term. That's why Mercury is retrograde in Capricorn, which is about longevity. So what am I taking action on that will last me into longevity? It's not about getting there quick. It's about taking a step each and every day on the right plan so that you're not having to redo things like we are now. So this is going to teach you a wise lesson. That's what this week I feel like you guys are really starting to grasp with this hawk card, where you're getting a vision, a higher vision of what's really happening. And so you're able to not make the impulsive decisions, but make the decisions that are here for you long term. We also, on the 14th, have Venus and Aquarius in your 7th, making a square to Uranus in the 10th. This could bring about changes in relationships and money, but I really see it shaking things up. I mean, you have such positive cards, so ultimately I think this week is very positive, and it could manifest positively for you. It might be disruptive. You might feel like there's tension between your relationship sector and your career sector. There's lots of different ways that this can manifest, but generally I feel like you guys are ultimately rising to greater visibility and greater happiness. So if there are certain changes that you need to make within either your career or relationship, making that change is going to create that sense of happiness, a sense of contentedness in your relationship in your career. And I see with the Knight of Pentacles, Six of Wands, and 10 of Cups, you have some of the best cards. It's the Knight of Pentacles is about working on very practical matters, getting your hands dirty and saying, I'm going to commit to this and be consistent with this one thing I need to do long term to see results. The next card is the Six of Wands, which is you committing to this is going to get you results faster than you even imagined, and it's going to get you more recognition. So I think especially on the 9th, when Venus makes a trine to Mars in the 7th and 11th house, you'll get more recognition on this day in particular. Maybe you'll get a new job, maybe you'll get some praise for what you've been doing. And then you end with the 10 of Cups, which is emotional fulfillment. So whatever you're doing this week is working because it's going to lead you to a sense of completion, where you feel like I've done everything right. I feel so much more satisfied. I feel really emotionally stable, and I'm proud of myself. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Bye. All right, and next we have Virgo Rising and Sun sign. So at the beginning of this week, we have your chart ruler, Mercury, moving retrograde still in the sign of Capricorn in your 5th house. Already did a video about what that represents last week, so check that out. But in general, it's about changing our plan for the future and in a way that will feel much more in alignment with our soul. And on this specific day, on the 8th, we have Mercury trining Uranus in the 9th, which will then give us more of that information about what it is that would actually light up our soul, what it is that we want to maybe stop doing with this 4 of Cups, and what it is we want to invest more into with this 8 of Cups. And even if it's not a specific thing, it could be our approach, our style, our mindset, who we're hanging out with. It doesn't even have to be like just one specific thing. Like, I'm not going to do this and I'm going to do this. It could be so many things, but whatever it does is it leads to the ultimate result of feeling like this is me. This is my authentic expression. I could see myself growing from this. I can see myself learning from this. This is going to help me push my boundaries, develop myself as a soul. And so we've already been kind of thinking about that. And the 8th is when I feel like you're going to get some downloads, some information, some excitement, some kind of stimulation that will help unfold that path around what those changes need to be. And then the next day we have Venus in your 6th house in Aquarius, making a trine to Mars in your 10th. And this is going to help you within your career. It's going to help you develop a sense of confidence, a sense of courage and commitment. So if there have been any downloads, exciting ideas, things coming through, feeling of freedom coming through in your life, the next day you're going to want to take action. You're going to want to see that thing through. and I literally pulled the action card, and it was actually followed up by the Chariot. So this is very much you guys needing to take action on your career and on the ideas that came through the day before on the 8th. And even more so because on the 12th, Mars is moving direct in your 10th house. And this is all systems go for your career. Yes, Mars is still kind of slowing down, stationary. It's at 8 degrees. It's sitting out there, but it's moving direct. So the energy is still pushing forward, even though it might be slow going. So you are going to be, again, all systems go in your career. And I feel like this is really going to give you a sense of optimism for the future. I pulled the 9 of Cups. It's like, yes, I can create what I want in life. The 9 of Cups might be about manifestation, but I really feel like you guys with Mars in the 10th, it's about your action. With this Chariot card, it's about your willpower. It's about what you do to create this success. And then the universe will do its part with the 9 of Cups, where it then drops a blessing into your lap, drops an opportunity, gives you the thing that you were looking for as a result of this effort. So do not stop. Take action towards that dream, towards that vision, because I'm really getting the sense that whatever it is that you desire is being highly protected with this Guardian card. I feel like there are ancestors that actually really want you to have whatever this is. Your ancestors, your spirits, your angels, guardians, whatever you want to think of it as, I feel like there's something that you are doing for them, that you are doing for the world, that you are going to help people with. And it's going to be so important for you to have this thing, even if it's just a promotion in your career. Maybe you being in the upper edges of your career and having something to say to people or having some kind of influence and command that can change somebody's life. Every little thing that we do matters. And on this day, on the 12th, we also have the sun in the 5th house making a sextile to Neptune in the 7th. So it just feels like not only is it good for your career that day, but it's also really beautiful for your relationships. And I'm seeing that here with the 3 of Cups and the 4 of Wands. I really feel like you guys are having a sense of celebration. There's something really exciting that might have happened. Maybe you guys are quite literally on this day celebrating the things that have gone right with your friends and your family, and feeling so much love, feeling so much support, feeling like your family and your friends are there for you. And then on the 14th, we have Venus in the 6th house and Aquarius squaring Uranus in the 9th. There may be some adjustments that you need to make on this day. Okay, now that I have this big vision, this thing that I'm working towards, how does my everyday life need to change and my current responsibilities need to change to get me there? Or how do I need to adjust my schedule? It's like the more practical stuff related to the bigger vision. There's something there that's misaligned. Maybe you have been a little bit too focused on the details. Maybe you've been a little bit too zoomed in. Maybe you've been too zoomed out. This could be an advice card to look at the details, to make some adjustments to them. Or on the opposite end, if you've been too zoomed out, to look at the big picture and how the details fit into that. Lastly, we have the Cosmic Egg, which this card is a lot about feeling like you finally found your sense of belonging. You finally found peace and almost like a footing in this world. So I feel like this week is going to be very optimistic. There are so many cards of celebration. If you've said no to things, to turn them down, I feel like you're really going to see how this week that has paid off for you. That focus is helping you get clear on what you're actually here to manifest and create an impact with people. And it's going to lead to some type of breakthrough, celebration, sense of harmony and happiness with your friends. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. If you've enjoyed this, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up and comment down below. And I hope you have a great one. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, Libra Rising and Libra Sun, my beautiful Libras. You guys are just doing well this week. I mean, there might be some stuff that comes up. I am seeing like a little bit of something, but I'm also seeing just incredible energy around finances. So in terms of really stepping up as a leader, being financially independent, having more authority, more responsibility, you guys, like this is such an amazing week for you. And this is the 8th to the 14th. And it's interesting because your chart ruler is a little bit active this week, Venus. And so we're going to talk about what that means. But I really feel like one of the things manifesting as a result of that is some kind of financial wellness, new responsibilities, leadership, as I mentioned. So I just got really excited. I had to mention that first, but let's draw it all the way back to the start of this week. On January 8th, we have Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in your fourth house, making a trine to Uranus in your eighth. So wherever Mercury retrogrades right now in the sign of Capricorn, it's about asking us to create a sure footing, something stable for the long term, something foundational. And we might have to, because it's retrograde, go back to the drawing board and do something a little bit differently. If you haven't watched my intro, I did talk about what that looked like for me with this placement, and it might be similar to you guys. So go ahead and watch the intro or the overview if you haven't already. But this retrograde, again, is about asking you what is solid, what is going to last me until into the future. And Queen and King of Pentacles, baby, that is what is going to last you into the future. And these are also divine counterparts. These are partners, right? These are the two matches in the tarot deck. So there might be something here around you partnering up with somebody or being in a relationship with somebody, something that has the potential to last long term. There's something going on here with that, which is really exciting to think about. So again, there might have been something where you have to kind of go back to the drawing board and do it again, this time the right way. And because it's making a trine to Uranus on the 8th, and in your 8th house, Uranus is in your 8th house, I feel like this is going to give you some kind of reprieve, because I do feel like there may have been some worries. Maybe there have been worries about debt. Maybe there have been worries about just fear in general of things not working out, not being good enough. And I feel like this is going to give you, it's going to help put that voice aside and give you ideas about how to actually solve the problem that will create a long-lasting solution. So if you've been worried about debt, how do I pay the debt off and not accrue more? If I'm worried about not feeling worthy, how do I actually like tackle that in a way that it doesn't just keep coming back and I don't just keep winding up in the same situation? So I feel like you guys are going to be really solid in your sense of self as a result of this Mercury retrograde, solid in your own emotional core, as well as within your home. And there might be some places that you consider home that aren't technically your home, that you see as needing a little bit of adjustments with this retrograde. Moving on the 8th, we have your chart ruler Venus in Aquarius in your 5th house, trining Mars in the 9th. Beautiful time. This is great in order for you guys to be confident, in order for people to recognize your power, your worthiness, in order for people to see you in your natural flow and your natural elegance. So great time for relationships to improve, great time for work on creative projects, great time for improving your relationship with your children. It's just good all across the board in terms of creativity and feeling like you're in your essence and you're confident. On the 12th, we have the sun in the 4th house, making a sextile to Neptune the 6th. Very good time for relaxing, taking a little bit of time for yourself, self-care. I did pull this frog card, which has this picture of almost like the frog taking a shower. And whenever I pull this card, I'm getting this idea of cleansing. So there might be something that you guys are being cleansed of at this time, spiritually, soulfully, restfully. And so you can kind of come into whatever it is in the next phase that will allow you to have all of your energy on board. So there might be some introspection, for example, during this time. And even more so on the 14th, when your chart ruler Venus is making a square to Uranus in the 8th. There's something here where this is kind of where I'm seeing a little bit of the tension come through. There may be some weird dynamics come up in relationships, or this could have been about the past. I don't know. But I feel like there might be some kind of insecurities or something that comes up that is a little bit like volatile, that's a little bit uncertain about the thing that was going so well on the 9th might, like if it's a creative project, your relationship with children, there's something around that was going well that might have a little bit of like a hiccup in it. Not in a bad way in terms of like it's ending or something bad is going to happen, but there may be some type of disagreement, because I did pull the 5 of Wands, but I often see this as internal disagreement as well, like internal conflict about how to move forward with something. So maybe some of you guys need to have a difficult conversation. Maybe some people disagree with you. Maybe there is something where you just have to make certain adjustments, but it's not easy. You're meeting resistance. Oh, that's so weird. Sometimes when I'm like channeling like this, I have random words pop into my head, and I had the word definition pop into my head. So maybe there's something around that for you guys. Maybe how you define something or the definition of something is going to be important. I have no idea. You guys decide for yourselves. And this could be a time where, again, there's maybe some introspection that's necessary and some solidarity for yourself. So this really feels like protecting yourself, standing up for yourself, doing what's right for you. And I feel like not letting the other person kind of like push you around, not being not being taken advantage of, whatever that looks like. I feel like you guys are really going to have to hold your own, because I did pull the initiation card. So maybe there's something around this where you are being initiated into more and more leadership. And I really see that with the Queen of King of Pentacles. There's more and more leadership that you guys are going to be responsible for, more and more impact. And as a result, you're going to have certain challenges. You're going to have maybe dissenting opinions or people pushing back on your boundaries, and different ways that this can manifest, or even, again, that internal polarity and conflict. So there's something here where I feel like you guys are going to need to hold your own, protect yourself, protect your boundaries, remove the internal blockages and conflict, remove yourself from some kind of fight, or have some kind of good solution for that. And this will help you, again, empower you more into the King and Queen of Pentacles, more into the leadership position, because a leader is not made without being tested, my friends. And so that is maybe what you're going to get a little glimpse of this week at some point. But with the grace card, it's also a lot about giving yourself grace. If you do make a mistake, or if something weird happens, or if something isn't quite manifesting exactly as how you like in terms of your own behavior, or in terms of the situation, just give yourself and that other person a lot of grace, because I feel like the situation will subside in a really positive way, but there might need to be a little bit of adjustments, especially on the 14th with that square with Venus and Uranus. There might need to be some adjustments in order for the dust to settle, because the volatility here is bringing up things that aren't working, or something that was misinterpreted or not done correctly. And so it's trying to help resolve that situation. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Libra. I hope that resonates. Please don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and comment down below if you enjoyed this. And I hope you have a beautiful one. Bye. All right, my Scorpio Sun and Rising. This is going to be an interesting week for you, where I feel like you're really going to be dealing with some very Scorpio kind of topics, and I'm excited to talk to you about that. But let's go ahead and start off with the astrology. We are starting off the 8th of January with Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in your 3rd house, trining Uranus in your 7th. So how you've been approaching the way that you discuss things, or even the way that you think about things, especially in your relationships, has not been working. There's something around your mindset, your communication, that Mercury retrograding in this house is asking you to go back to the foundation of. Look at what you've been saying, look at how you've been interacting, how you've been thinking, and question it, and ask yourself, what result is this going to get me long term? Because there's, again, something amiss. And when it's retrograde in Capricorn, it's about asking ourselves what we need to do to have success in longevity. And whatever you're doing right now is not going to get you there, which is why it's retrograding, to give you an opportunity to redo something, revisit the past, and analyze that part of your life. And with the trine to Uranus in the 7th, this is especially going to help you within your relationships. Maybe somebody else is going to give you an idea of how to communicate. Maybe you're going to have a therapy session, and it's going to feel like, oh, wow, maybe I should say that to my partner, and that's going to help. Or maybe you have a breakthrough conversation or a realization. You approach something differently. And that's really something I was seeing and saying, is like, I feel like you're really dealing with things around intimacy. You're really dealing with very Scorpio topics. I pulled the Scorpion, which I was like, okay, you're really in your essence this week. You're really dealing with things related to your sign, which for you guys is intimacy, vulnerability. What am I willing to open up to receive? Am I willing to set aside my fear of rejection to embrace this greater sense of intimacy? And maybe also some sensuality or sexuality as a result, especially later this week, which we'll talk about. This is being highly encouraged. So you're setting yourself up with your communication at the beginning of this week, your different mindset at the beginning of this week, to create more intimacy or sensuality later in the week, which is really beautiful. On the 9th, we have Venus and Aquarius in your 4th, making a trine to Mars retrograde in Gemini in the 8th. So if you haven't already had those conversations, which I think you will have on the 8th, the next day you'll either have the conversation or you will start to feel a greater sense of that intimacy. You'll start to feel more at home within yourself, within your own body. I feel like you're going to feel more emotionally charged in a good way, more confident. And I think you'll be moving from this energy of worrying about things and kind of getting pulled by the tides of whatever's happening in your life into a greater sense of worthiness, of this is who I am, this is what I have to offer, take it or leave it. This could be in different areas of your life, but I really feel like you guys are coming into a more inner strength on this day in particular. And it will carry over on the next day or on the 12th when the sun in the 3rd house sextiles Neptune in the 5th. This is going to bring about greater sense of joy, optimism, feeling more light and easy in the mind. And it's really good because on this day, Mars moves direct in your 8th house, which will help you see with more clarity what you haven't seen before. I feel like with this Sun card, this is about clarity. The Page of Wands is about having new ideas. The Hanged Man is about seeing things differently. All of these things are about changing your perspective, changing your ideas about things, changing the way that you communicate and see things. So when Mars moves direct in your 8th house on the 12th, you're getting a more optimistic mindset and you're able to also tackle some of the things that you might have been really like fearful of. You might have been holding yourself back, not speaking your mind, not asking for an explanation, not having the important conversation, not making the decision that you need to make. There's something around like clarity, communication, honesty, intimacy that I feel like you guys have been avoiding, and Mars retrograde in your 8th has been making you kind of address more of the internal world around those fears of what has been stopping you and what is kind of going on. It's a lot coming up around healing those areas of your life. And now that it's moving direct, it's asking you to take action on that healing and produce different results in your life. And I feel like it's going to be such a relief. And Mars is your traditional ruler in astrology. So it moving direct in your 8th house is going to be an empowering process. It might take some time because it's moving slowly. It's going to remain at 8 degrees until the 24th. However, at 8 degrees of Gemini. However, it's giving you the opportunity to take one step at a time and slowly pick up momentum towards speaking your mind, speaking your heart, asking for what you need, being vulnerable, being intimate, having clarity, having these important discussions, making decisions, seeing things from a different perspective, having new ideas, all of those things. When it's related to relationships, intimacy, fear of rejection, all those, it's really going to, again, clear things up for you in a really big way. And I think allow you to just move forward and not get stuck in redundancy. On the 14th, we have Venus in your 4th house making a square to Uranus in the 7th. So if you've had some realizations about what needs to change and shift, it could ultimately come up on this day. You might have something going on around relationships and your home. There might be some disruptions. There might be some changes that you need to make, some creative solutions you need to implement, some feeling of unrest here. Regardless, whatever is happening on that day is ultimately going to shake you out of any kind of stagnancy, which I feel like this Hanged Man is saying. Maybe you've been stagnant about something. Maybe you've been stagnant around simply being very expressive around what is going on inside of you. And I see that hopefully being shaken up on the 14th, where you might have an important conversation with somebody, or something might come up in your relationship where you do start to share those feelings, or maybe something happens within your relationship with your family and something goes on within the home. There are many ways that it can manifest, but regardless, it's going to pull something out of you. I feel like it's going to create some kind of change where there was really needing to be a change. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio. If that resonates, please let me know by commenting down below and giving me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius. So the start of this week for you guys, we're having Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in your 2nd house, making a trine to Uranus in your 6th house. So Mercury retrograde in your 2nd, as I've been saying to people, specifically in the sign of Capricorn, is about asking ourselves what changes that we need to make, what do we need to redo or revisit from the past that will create a solid foundation for our future. For you guys, it's in your financial sector as well as in your value sector. And with the trine to Uranus in the 6th, there might be some changes to your health, your routine, the way that you prioritize yourself, the way that you schedule your tasks, that will actually really help inform this new change in your financial or your value system. This could also be reflected in you having a desire to make money in a new way or approach your finances in a different way. And on this day in particular, I feel like you're going to get more insight about how to practically do that. The next day we have Venus and Aquarius in your 3rd house, making a trine to Mars retrograde and Gemini in the 7th. So on this day, I feel like you guys are going to have an important conversation with somebody. This is very much relationship focused. And I do feel like whatever comes up is going to bring about a greater sense of passion and connection. So if there's been something that you feel like has gone stale, or if there's been something that needs addressing, this is a really great time to do so. Yes, Mars can be about conflict, but with a positive trine to Venus, it is going to bring about addressing conflict to create harmony, or maybe instead of conflict, it's sexual tension or passion, excitement, creativity. But there's something around communication, relationships, connection with others that's going to be very important on this day. On the 12th, we have the Sun in your 2nd house making a sextile to Neptune the 4th, which I believe is going to be very healing for you guys. If there has been some things that you've been adjusting in your finances, in your values, in your sense of security, on this day, I feel like it's going to bring healing to this area of your life. It's going to bring healing into your home sector, into your family sector. And because I pulled the 10 of Pentacles, I feel like home right now is a very important topic for many of you guys, or family in general. And with the sextile with the Sun and Neptune on this day, I really do feel like it's going to bring about healing. If there's been, with this Scorpion card, unresolved conflict in particular, it's going to help resolve it and heal it and let it go, especially because Mars is moving direct on this day in your 7th house. So it's helping you guys take action, the right action in your relationships that you need to bring about a little bit more peace within the home. If you've been having conflict with your partner, which is super common with Mars in the 7th house, this is when I feel like, yes, you still have that kind of fiery energy there, but this is when it's moving direct. I think you're going to take more of the right action and resolve those things so that you can become more connected as a partner, to have more community. It says community. Maybe it's relying on your friends a little bit more, but I really feel like a lot of you guys, this is around a partner or someone very specific that's like an intimate relationship. With this acceptance card, maybe on this day in particular with the Sun sextiling Neptune on the 12th, maybe you have some acceptance to do, acceptance of yourself, acceptance of the other person, of a situation. It's almost like letting things be as they are, not trying to push them ahead, not trying to push them to be different, but allowing yourself to just sink into the present moment of this is what it is, this is what's happened, this is how my life is, and surrendering to those circumstances, but also doing what you can to resolve past conflicts, unresolved things. So accepting things as they are, accepting people as they are, and also allowing yourself to let things go, allowing yourself to let the past go, especially when it comes to things related to home and family, but it could be related to other matters as well, like relationships in particular, because that's where Mars has been retrograding. I also feel like in general, and this could come up on the 14th, we have Venus moving into we have Venus in the 3rd house, making a square to Uranus in the 6th. So I don't know, there might be some things that you guys, I just feel like you guys are juggling a lot. And with Venus in the 3rd, there's a desire for things to be maybe a little bit calmer, a little bit more settled. Maybe you've been anxious or stressed or have a lot on your heart and mind. And with this square to Uranus in the 6th, it's like there's something that has to change to your daily routine in order for you to manage this. Because I pulled the 2 of Pentacles and the Devil card, and it's like you're juggling a lot on your plate. You're juggling a lot of responsibilities. And with this Devil card, I think it's keeping you stuck. It's actually keeping you either stuck in like limiting beliefs, bad habits. There's something around all of these activities that have really had you kind of trapped in some capacity. And with the 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles, this is about having financial success, career success, family success, having abundance in your family, happiness, stability. And you're not going to get there if you don't have the proper systems in place. So on the 14th, I think you'll really start to see where there are leaks in the system, where you need to make some adjustments in order to create that long-term stability for yourself. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Sagittarius. If it resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And don't forget to subscribe. I hope you guys have a beautiful week. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn, Sun and Rising. So the week of the 8th to the 14th, it looks interesting for you guys. We have Mercury retrograding in your sign, in your first house. I already talked about that last week, but I'll just quick recap if you haven't seen it. Mercury retrograding in Capricorn is all about asking ourselves, what do I need to adjust in my life to create more stability in my future? What will last me long term? For you, it's something about you and your essence, about your physical body, your way of approaching life, your personality even. And so there might need to be some adjustments actually to who you are and how you're operating through life. And on the 8th, Mercury is making a trine to Uranus in the 5th. So I think it's going to give you almost like this sense of what changes do I need to make? Yes, we're all thinking about that. But what would make me more joyful? What would bring me pleasure? What would feel best for me? What feels like it's expansive, like it's growing me, like it's easy. And I think on this day, you'll start to get a sense of what that is, how you can move towards a life that has a little bit more juiciness for you guys. Maybe you've been working really hard. That has been a message I've been getting for you guys. But also with this stillness card, I feel like many of you guys are just honestly needing a lot more like focus and stillness and calm, because I also pulled the fish card, which is all about this really busy energy, being unfocused, like following your different thoughts and not necessarily feeling grounded into what you're doing. And I just really feel like it's not serving you in some way. I think you guys are needing to come to a place of more joy of the present moment, more pleasure of what is happening in your life, and more stillness and focus. And so I think when Mercury retrogrades, it will help you do that. And on the 8th will be one of those stepping stones along that process. On the 9th, we have Venus in your second house making a trine to Mars in the 6th. This is good for finances. This is good for work. This is good for confidence in your skill sets. This is good for knowing what to prioritize, how to plan things for your future, how to work with others to create something. Just a good day for your energy overall and for your financial world. And then on the 12th, we have the sun in your first house, which again is drawing a lot of attention to how you manage yourself, your energy, your life, making a sextile to Neptune in the third, which I feel like is again calling you towards that stillness of the mind in particular. It's not necessarily that you can't do things, although I do feel like there's something around that that's coming up. But I think it's really stillness of the mind. So yes, maybe slow down, but when you're in those moments where you're slowing down, is your mind slowing down? Because if it's not, if you're still watching something, reading something, writing something, doing something, or have anxiety, it's like you're not actually getting the benefits of that stillness. And so that is what this day is calling for you on the 12th. On this day, we'll also have Mars moving direct in your 6th house. So there's something around you creating that stillness will actually move you a lot more forward, a lot quicker in your life, because I think it's going to bring you clarity. Because right now with the 8 of Wands, I just kind of get the sense that you guys are dispelling a lot of energy in a lot of different directions, and it's not necessarily serving you. There's like a lot of options, a lot of things that you could do, a lot of things that you can focus on. Maybe you just have a lot of ideas. I don't know what that is for you exactly. But with this card being in reverse, I feel like you're going to get further by choosing one of them and focusing in on that. And you need to have clarity in order to do that, which on the 12th, when the sun sextiles Neptune and Mars goes direct, I feel like you'll get that clarity, which you can pour into your actions. With the Page of Wands, it's about having that exciting idea, that next step, knowing what you want, what you're working towards. And you're just at the beginning of it, whatever it is. It's an idea phase. It's not something solidified. So maybe the Eight of Wands is you just having tons and tons of ideas and not knowing which one to choose. But there's something around you having focus, clarity, knowingness, purpose, direction with the Sun card that is going to really benefit you long term. And again, I think a lot of that will come through for you on the 12th. Then on the 14th, we have Venus in the second house, making a square to Uranus in the fifth. So this might need some adjustments. So maybe the things that brought you pleasure and enjoyment in the moment and that sense of freedom and relaxation, maybe that doesn't necessarily fit with this long-term security, fit with the money that you're trying to create. Maybe you've been spending too much. Maybe there are adjustments you need to make. This is the day in which that will become clear and adjustments are encouraged. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Capricorn. If that resonates, let me know by liking, commenting down below. Don't forget to subscribe and have a beautiful week. Bye. All right. Up next, we have my Aquarius, Sun and Rising. So on the week of the 8th to the 14th, we are starting off with you guys having Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, your 12th house, making a trine to Uranus in the 4th. Whenever we have a retrograde planet like Mercury in the 12th, there may be some act of having to surrender to the process. There may be some endings that are happening in your life that you don't have any control of. But because it's in the sign of Capricorn, there is something that we can learn from the experience that will help us in the long term. And as a retrograde, especially as well, it's asking us to reflect a lot and kind of take the lemonade out of the lemon from the experience. So maybe there have been some things that you've had to let go of. Maybe there have been some things that have been shifting that are requiring you to surrender to the process. And you're like, well, this is uncomfortable. But it's not just about discomfort. It's about, what am I doing next? What am I getting out of this? What am I going to do differently next time? And that is what you're meant to kind of go through with this whole process. And maybe there are some things that you're going back to the drawing board to reassess in terms of those areas of your life that are having those endings. So I really feel like ultimately you guys, and especially see that with the Bear card, this is like there's an ending happening with the Bear in the winter, and then it's reemerging in the spring. So it's an initiation, it's an emergence happening. So I really feel like you guys are going through this kind of release and then emerging again, and that will happen very soon. And so the Bear card is indicating some kind of spiritual evolution, some kind of test that you're going through in a way, but ultimately to lead you to the results that you're looking for. And on the 8th, Mercury in the 12th is trining Uranus in the 4th. So this could indicate that there is something coming through around home or family that will support you through this process. There might be some emotional thing that just clicks, some idea that comes through that will help you, I feel like, emotionally process or release whatever is going on so that you have a different future. It might also be something related to anger, because I pulled the Fire Ants card, which is about anger. So maybe there's something in your life where there is an angry situation that's ending. Yeah. Mars in the 5th house is not that bad, not that angry, but there might be something that has been pissing you off or someone in your vicinity. There might be something that's very frustrating. There is some kind of like focus on community here, since the Fire Ant has a tons of ants on it. There might be something frustrating around like your friends, your community, people around you, or, you know, you can fill in what works for you. But I feel like that you're emerging from that situation. It's starting to end, but it was still like a test, and you still have more stuff to go through. But ultimately, it's helping you never make that specific thing happen again, or that mistake again, or whatever it was. You're not going to go through that again. The next day, we have Venus in your first house making a trine to Mars in the 5th. This is so great for relationships, and I really see that for you guys. I pulled so many, I pulled the Four of Wands, which is like a relationship card, a celebration card as well, harmony in your dynamics. And before that, I pulled the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is, I feel like, a card of commitment, is a card of stability, something lasting, something that's in the middle of its journey. You're going after it. And that's why I see There is somebody who's pregnant. She's in the middle of her pregnancy and expecting it to be birthed. So I really feel like you guys are in the middle of something and feeling really good about something within your relationships, within your life. Yeah, I feel like with Venus in the first house, that's generally just a really positive thing. And with the trine to Mars, it's bringing excitement, creativity, passion. So maybe there are creative projects that you're working on, or certain relationships that you're going through, or dating, or something in your life where it feels like you're in the middle of it and it's exciting and it's celebratory and it's stable and it's feeling good. So there's something in your life that is really set up well for you on the 9th. On the 12th, we have the sun on the 12th, which again can kind of deplete one's energy and make you feel like you don't have as many resources or things aren't going as easily because it's more of a time of withdrawal. So the sun of the 12th will generally do that for you, which is all Capricorn season for you. But right now on the 12th, you have the sun in the 12th, sextiling Neptune in the 2nd. So I feel like this is part of the hibernation where it's like you're finally going to get some reprieve and the spring is going to dawn and you're going to get some kind of financial blessing from the universe. I pulled the wealth card, a sextile with Neptune in the 2nd. It's like the universe is just deciding to give you some type of blessing. Maybe your paycheck, maybe you're getting a paycheck, maybe you're getting a bonus, maybe somebody is tipping you, like whatever it is. I feel like you guys are being more financially supported on that day. Mars is also moving direct in your 5th house, re-energizing you creatively. So if you've kind of put a pause on your dating life or put a pause on your creative ventures or on your business or something like that, I really feel like Mars moving direct is going to give you more confidence, is going to make you feel better, more energized, more social, and have you working more towards the things that you really want in your life. So it looks good on the 9th. It looks good on the 12th. And then on the 14th, we have a little rocky energy with Venus in your 1st house squaring Uranus in the 4th. This is more unstable. This is a little bit of a conflict between your emotions, your home, maybe people that you live with, your family, and yourself, and kind of your path, where you're going, what you're valuing, what you need right now. There's a little bit of a conflict between those that need some type of resolution. So for example, if you have a roommate issue that could come up, or if you're having a fight with your family that could come up, and it's like you're needing something a little different in your life, that is a day where it's going to be really obvious what that change is, what that thing is that needs to be different. So respect that process, allow the change to happen, or push the change to happen in order to create harmony, because harmony wants to be restored. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Aquarius. I hope that resonates. If it does, please give me a like and comment down below. And please don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, and last but not least, we have Pisces, Sun, and Rising. So on the 8th of this week, we are having Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in your 11th house, trining Uranus in your 3rd. Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is all about creating long-term solutions. And for you, this is actually in the area of future goals as well as friendships and network. So maybe there have been some questions around that area of your life because something hasn't been quite right. Something hasn't been quite clicked into place and working in the way that it's going to sustain you long term. And so on the 8th, with the trine to Uranus in the 3rd, I think you're going to have a really important conversation, realization, mindset shift that's going to help you see what the best solution is for creating this better community, better network, better vision for your long-term goals, so that you're not kind of getting stuck repeating processes, like going back to the drawing board, having to patch up errors or things going wrong. Maybe having issues with friends. It's like, is that really necessary? This can be many different things, but there's something around that area of your life where it's just, as it is, it needs adjusting so that it can last you long term. On the 9th, we have Venus in your 12th house, sextiling or trining Mars in your 4th. Mars is still retrograde on this day. And so I almost feel like this is unburdening yourself in many ways. I feel like this is you speaking your mind, speaking your heart. That could have happened on the day before. And this kind of being some kind of emotional release within the relationship, within the home. You guys may be having to take some time out for yourself, take a bubble bath, reconnect with yourself. I feel like you're going through this larger transformation with this metamorphosis card. And this day in particular is helping you connect with that transformation, but first through the act of healing, first through the act of rest, rejuvenation, and then it will facilitate whatever needs to be changing through your life. So that is an important day to fill your own cup, give back to you, and cultivate your inner world, cultivate your home life on that particular day. On the 12th, we have the sun in Capricorn, your 11th, sextiling Neptune in the first. This is also really beautiful for rejuvenation, but I feel like this is more so support from your community that is going to help inspire you. So maybe you have a good talk with a friend. Maybe this day is when you have a better realization about who you want to hang out with more, or what those long-term goals you want to do are, and you're going to feel more excited and inspired. And Mars is also moving direct in your 4th house, which is helping you get more rejuvenated in terms of energy. Like, okay, I'm going to go after things a little bit more. Not necessarily as much in the external world, which could happen because it's opposite. Mars is going direct in your 4th house, which is around your home and family and the most hidden part of the chart. And it's opposite the 10th, so it could energize you to go after your goals. But I almost feel like it's giving you more focus on, if you have children, on your children, because I did pull the 6 of Cups. It's giving you more focus on your home life. What has been out of balance there with this Justice in reverse? If something has been out of balance in your internal world or in your home life, this could be related to your childhood as well. Like something that has been out of balance as a result of your childhood, as a result of your past. There's something around either your kid, your home, your family, your past, your childhood that's been out of balance, a little out of whack, that I think when Mars goes direct is your chance to create that sense of balance, to put energy and effort towards that area of your life, to create emotional equilibrium, to do the inner work, to spend time with your child, to spend time doing things around the home that you need to get things really situated, almost like nesting. I'm kind of getting the sense of like nesting, and we have the nightingale, which is a bird. So that makes a lot of sense that you're speaking your mind and having this kind of nesting quality, because with the metamorphosis, you don't want to go through this big transition in an environment that hasn't been fully, that's imbalanced, right? That hasn't been taken care of, with the dirty dishes and this and that. And then you're going through an emotional crisis. No, like you need to, not saying that the metamorphosis is an emotional crisis, but in order to have these kind of transitions within yourself, you need to maybe let some stuff go, maybe give some old clothes away, say no to certain things, to certain hangouts and things like that, so that you can have some time to yourself to kind of rejuvenate yourself. And I really feel like that's a big part of what's going on here. In some ways, you're stepping out and having adjustments in your like friend center, and having things change, and having important conversations there, realizations there. And then also in other ways, you're still kind of doing this internal cleanup and this internal stabilizing. So there's like two things going on here. I'm not saying you're like never out in the world, because I think that's also going on. But there's still a lot going on inside. And then lastly, we have the Venus in Aquarius squaring Uranus in the 3rd house. So this could be about letting something go. This could be about having a conversation about what you need to let go, especially in terms of relationships or values. Maybe you've been kind of putting up with something for too long. Maybe you've had a certain way of viewing something in relationships for too long. Maybe it's about even emotionally releasing something through speaking your mind, saying things that you feel. But yeah, there's some kind of important conversation where I feel like you're completely needing to make it's almost like you're going to have to confront something to like let it go, because a square is not a peaceful thing. It's like, I have tension here. I have to address this head on. And it's uncomfortable, but it requires some kind of instability to come up with the creative solution to resolve it. And I think ultimately, with it being in the 12th house, it's like I'm resolving it by releasing it. And ultimately, it's going to lead you to the Knight of Wands, which you might be a little bit fiery, you might be a little bit passionate, a little bit like feisty with this, because it is the Knight of Wands, which can be a little bit impulsive. But the Knight of Wands is also feeling like I have a lot more energy to work, to participate in my life. I have a lot more energy to focus on my emotions, not conquer them, but utilize them. I have a lot more like badassery and courage to just be like, I am going to let that go. I am going to have this conversation. I am going to face this thing directly. So whatever it is for you guys, I really feel like you're running into the fire, you're running into making those changes. But I also think that there's something that needs to be like soothing and relaxing this week as well. So there's this interesting mix that's kind of going on for you guys. So I hope that resonates. I hope you enjoy this. Have a beautiful week. Don't forget to subscribe and like and comment down below so that more people can access this content. And I hope you guys have a great one. Bye.